welcome to Trading the Close on this Baby Friday, or Thursday, as some of you call it. I'm Toni Valliere with Verified Investing, and here's what's making headlines today. Retail sales declined 0.8% for January, a steeper drop than expected. Unemployment claims are down by 8,000 from the week before, which is better than expected. SHAK stock surges after delivering a strong fourth quarter earnings report and a positive 2024 outlook. And Target announces a plan to sell some everyday essentials starting under $1, you heard that correctly, through its new private label brand. Let's take a look at where things stand with the markets just minutes before the closing bell. And we've got a lot of green across the board. We've got the Dow up 321 points, up 0.83%. The NASDAQ up 25 points, 0.16%. We've got the S&P 500 up 26 points, 0.53%. We've got oil up a little over $1. We've got gold up over $12. And we've got Bitcoin in the opposite direction right now, down $64. So let's bring in Chief Market Strategist Gareth Soloway with a recap of the day's tradings. What do you make of today's trades, and what's the big takeaway?
Yeah, so it's been another float up in the markets, right? I think the retail sales kind of calm people down in terms of, which is kind of crazy because again, the retail sales were pretty bad, but the market likes bad news because it means the Fed might be more likely to cut rates sooner. So there's this give and take, right? We had the CPI numbers, which made it less likely that the Fed would cut, and then tomorrow we have the PPI numbers, and that'll kind of be the end result of this week of crazy economic data. So just looking at the S&P 500 today, right? So we opened right here. Let me get rid of those old lines there. We saw a lot of just sideways to upward chop. You can see we're basically trading just about at the highs of the day. The biggest thing to me, and this is something that I've been looking at, is if we go to the daily chart. So number one, we have this wedge pattern where we continue to come to the head of the wedge. And essentially what that tells us is that at some point you're either going to break out or break down, and usually those are the biggest moves, right? When you get this, it's almost like a squeeze. It's like putting a rubber ball and squeezing it, and then it finally pops out one way or the other. So that's kind of what you're looking at to see, well, which way do we break? Does the PPI do it? Does NVIDIA earnings next week do it? But one of these things in just the next probably week will have to cause a breakout or breakdown. The only other thing that I would just point out here is that you have a lot of negative divergences building here, and I want to show you guys this. So if we zoom out, let's take a look here, and we zoom out a fair amount. I want to even go back to the high, the former all-time high on the market. So if we look at this, what we see is price going up, but the RSI is declining right there. Now, the last time that happened, right, was right here, where you had price going up, but RSI was declining, right? And look at the result. We had that bigger move to the downside. And then you could even go back here to the previous all-time highs where we were going up, but look at RSI declining, and then we saw this bigger move to the downside. So little things like this, I just kind of pay attention to them. It doesn't mean that it's going to top tomorrow or next week, but it's a warning sign for investors to be careful that things are frothy here, that there is a sign of distribution going on. Now, a couple other charts here we want to look at. So we got to touch on NVIDIA, which has just been a rock star here. It is pulling back today, which again, it doesn't do that very often. You can see the run from the start of the year. What is that? A 40+% move to the upside from the 400s all the way to 700 and change, but it is starting to kind of stall out. This is one of the last few mega tech companies that is still rising or has been rising. And what I mean by that is you have the Magnificent Seven. Then we lost Tesla. Tesla started to crumble. Then we saw Apple. Apple's an interesting chart here. Let me jump to that one real quick, because Apple's on a pivotal level right here that if this breaks right here, look at this, this, and this. If this breaks, this is really bad for Apple because it's a really long area of upward trending momentum. So again, you're starting to lose these larger stocks, and we even saw today Amazon down, Google down, and a bunch of the other ones down as well as NVIDIA. So little things like this I'm paying attention to in the markets, and we'll just have to see. At some point, we know that the general market has been very weak, the underbelly, but these big ones have been carrying things. What happens if these big ones really start to correct after these mega runs that they've had? What happens to the market? Do we get that breakdown? Remember that wedge we just talked about on the S&P 500?
Is that what's happening right now? What do you think? is the reason for this?
I think again is that price has just gone up too far too fast. This is so unusual for the S&P. Again, to see gains of this magnitude in such a short time. And again, this is all. I mean, think about the potential black swans out there. You have Middle East, continued potential contagion there. You have Ukraine and Russia. You have the elections in the U.S. coming up. You have potential. The Fed, can they really engineer this soft landing, or are we going to stumble with these CPI data and the inflation upticking? So for the market to be this strong with all that lurking, it does make the markets vulnerable, right? Now, lastly, I just want to touch base on Bitcoin. I know everyone wants to touch on Bitcoin here. Bitcoin did touch almost 43,000, but look at this amazing parallel channel that we have here on Bitcoin. And again, this explains why I've inched into a little bit of a short, really threw everyone into a tizzy on Twitter. They couldn't believe it. Oh my God, I can't believe you'd ever short as a swing trade. But listen, that's what I do. I'm a trader. But look at this, and this tells you why, right? Right there. Look at that. I mean, again, this is just me following data. It's the data telling me to do this. If we drop down here, I probably take my profits and run. But again, possible topping tail today on the daily Bitcoin chart, which again, topping tails are bearish reversal signals. Curious to see what happens here over the next couple hours.
Meaning you're thinking it could have a pullback here.
I think at least a pullback, right? I mean, if you look at this run here, again, very vertical run, hitting this level right here. The last time it hit that level, we got a 20% correction. This time, this wasn't as big a correction, but still it pulled back. And as a swing trader, I'm a shorter term investor, right? So I'm just looking for like what happens in the next 1 week. Let me grab some profits here. Then I'll determine if I want to go long or if I want to stay out of the trade. But that's really all it is. And then I also think you look at the Bitcoin chart and you say, okay, well, what's the overall stock market doing? Because there's no doubt that there's a connection with Bitcoin's run and what's been happening in the stock market. There's a liquidity just continuing to flood in. It's risk on everywhere. And I do wonder if the stock market gets risk off, does that then affect Bitcoin as well?
All right, Gareth, thank you so much. We always love your perspective. You can watch him every single morning on The Game Plan at 9 a.m. just before the opening bell. And I've got another special guest today. I've got Gareth Cardone. He's a self-proclaimed disruptor. He's an entrepreneur. He is a business developer. He's an investor, an avid skier, a fisherman, and he's passionate about history and religion. Gareth, welcome to Trading the Close. Thank you so much for joining me here today. So Gareth, speak one more time. I want to make sure I can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
There we go. Yes.
Awesome.
I wanted to hear that Louisiana accent.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I love it. Hey, Gareth, you are so much more than I mentioned. I've worked in television a long time, and I got to tell you, I've never been unsure about what title to give somebody on their graphic. You're also the COB of Node 40. You're a general partner at Cardone Ventures. What else are you involved in right now, as if that isn't enough? What did I miss, and did I get most of it right?
Well, I think maybe some of it's dated. I'm definitely not skiing anymore. And there's a lot of things I'm not doing anymore. But right now, I'm really been consumed with taking the career that I've had over 30 or 40 years and bringing it together into Bitcoin and the digital, what I call the digital asset industry. My energy background and the payments experience I've had in trading, it just really fits extremely well in this industry and gives me a lot of confidence on the disruptive part as to what and where and how far Bitcoin can go as an industry. I think everyone's probably underestimating what's going to happen here.
I want to get into all of that. First, I want to start with you being here in St. Petersburg. I say here because I'm in Clearwater. I'm not far from you. It's one of my favorite places here in Florida. I know you've lived many places, even overseas as well. What brought you here to St. Petersburg?
I came here, I was invited to a party.
Nice.
And in fact, met Gareth at a party here.
Oh, how funny.
Bought a house, bought an old, kind of Italian styled home that I was going to redo, and had no intentions on staying here. Someone tried to burn the house down, and I had to keep coming back here to get it fixed. So I built a business while we were here. So got married, had a couple of kids, 300 people working in the company, and started falling in love with St. Pete. Really came to St. Pete three and a half years ago. St. Pete's really, really unbelievably awesome.
It is super cool, and I love you're so nonchalant, but that's what you do. You develop businesses. That comes. It seems natural to you. You've got a marketing and economic background. Again, you've developed numerous businesses. You worked in the oil and gas industry. Tell me, what are your favorite assets to invest in right now, and are oil and gas part of your portfolio? I know Bitcoin is, and we are going to get to that. I promise.
Yeah, no, I don't have any oil and gas exposure except through some ownership in some blockchain companies that are doing work in the energy sector. The other investment I have is a deal I helped a local firm do, actually, that makes them look like a electricity and natural gas distributor. They've been probably the best investment I've ever made in my life, and never had to work there for a day. I think they make about $70 million a year. So I run into really weird deals and have a funny way of looking at helping deals work more effectively. So, it's just been a little bit of, it's probably the only gift I have. It's definitely not skiing or fishing.
Hey, well, it's a really great gift. Tell me, how do you choose your investments?
Nothing to do with numbers, everything to do with the people.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. Nothing to do with the technology, everything to do with the people. Yeah, the people are the most important piece until we can build robots that are very, very consistent and predictable. And that is one of the reasons that I think for a large swath of investors, not to take you there too quickly though, but very few investors have an opportunity to invest in an asset class that has zero human error risk. I mean, I think it's really hard to think with that, actually, because no one's ever had that experience of being able to invest in a no human error risk industry or asset class. So I'll let you guess as to what that is. But
well, not yet. I mean, you see that coming, right? I mean, with AI, is that what you're getting at?
No, I'm saying I think Bitcoin is the
Sure.
only asset class that has no human error risk.
Okay, so let's
Right.
talk about that. What made you decide to invest in Bitcoin?
Well, the energy guys aren't making any money at this point. Like energy is a pure commodity now. It's a science. There's not any dry holes. There's a reason nat gas. I was hoping Gareth was going to talk about nat gas at 167. When I started my career, nat gas prices were $7.63, if my memory serves me right, and they're at 167 today. Overwhelming amount of supply of natural gas in the United States, and that was all built on a 30-day market. So I think that's really telling you when a market's really, really healthy, you get a tremendous amount of capital going into that market, even though you can't sell 10-year products, 10-year insurance contracts, stuff like that. So for me, it's a big boys game, very low margin business, and a lot of commodity risk. What are my other options? Like, I can't even possibly understand NVIDIA's valuation. It's hard for me to understand Meta's valuation. Now, I'm a long-term investor, okay? I don't trade like Gareth does. So I look at, can I acquire a company, preferably private equity, or can I get in very, very early on an asset class? And I think Bitcoin at 15 years is like getting into NVIDIA at about $10. I would say, actually. NVIDIA sat there for a long, long time doing nothing, and until it didn't. So I think that's, I would compare a NVIDIA and AI future, our digital future. Very few of the old legacy companies, even the way they think, I don't think those companies are going to be as effective as they may have been in the past in a digital world.
What do you think it will take for Bitcoin to be more mainstream?
I think I would be a little worried about, Bitcoin's price getting moving so quickly that it moves out all the old stream guys and becomes just mainstream. I think the flows of Bitcoin are staggering what's happened here in the last 3 weeks. And it's grossly, I think grossly surprised most all players. The chart clearly is operating a little differently than it was. There's I think 448 million Bitcoin a day in the last 5 days has moved into the ETFs. Like, we've never seen that kind of volume. So I think mainstream adoption, quite frankly, it's going to come in some waterfall effects. The first piece is we're seeing right now, this is not old digital crypto bros money. This is new money.
Yeah.
Coming in at $300,000 a family minimum. And they're being allocated like in $300,000 swatch, right, in the ETF or in the management fund. I know of 250 families that don't even know they have it, and they got it last Thursday. So, and that's the way this is going to get sold. It's literally going to get sold to the user, to the family, without even them asking whether or not they should do it or get approval. It's just their allocation. And Q1 would be the absolute right time for a mid-tier investment manager to allocate Bitcoin. Now, if you think that through, like, woo, they allocated, I think they probably allocated 100. Well, I won't say, but I think they've allocated a lot of money in the mid 30s, low 40s. When they open those books in March and they see that kind of performance in 90 days.
Does that concern you? Are you concerned about this?
No, I think it's extremely exciting. I'd be concerned if I had not had the thesis to see. I look at Bitcoin as a real estate play. When there's only 17 to 20 million units, and real estate is all about location, location, location.
Yep.
I don't know any wealthy people, super wealthy people, that have enough of something someone else doesn't have. And it's simply a supply and demand. Once this kicks in, you can't take it back, because we've never seen a finite supply of anything.
Yeah. I do want to ask you about business, and for anybody who's an entrepreneur and maybe even looking to start a business now or anytime soon, is this a good time to start? How do you feel about our economy right now?
This is the greatest time to start a business, because you have interest rates that are at, let's call it 6.5%, 7%. It's not at 0% interest rates, cost of money. It really sets up bad behavior. People raise too much money. They take too much money in. They don't treat the money well. They hire the wrong people. They invest in the wrong things because the money's just burning through their hands. I love building businesses when all the competitors have had a bunch of free money thrown at them. And those guys tend to go away first. I think there's a great mystery, I think even a little bit of a misnomer about being first to a market. Being first to a market is usually very painful. So I would rather come in later, see some of the mistakes that have been made, and have greater clarity, which brings me kind of like, hey, $51,000 on Bitcoin. We have more clarity today than any time in history on Bitcoin, that this is a green light. We are launching this rocket, and there's a lot of rich people getting ready to get on board. It's a lot of clarity, and it's showing up in the numbers. So it's really hard for me to start talking about other, like even private equity now. When I look at private equity, like investing in a company, it has to compare with what I think Bitcoin's going to do. And Bitcoin has no headaches. There's no human error problems. Nobody gets sick. There's a lot of benefits to that. So it's kind of all getting pulled into the gravity of Bitcoin. Hate to say it.
Well, I had a guy on last week. You may have heard of this company. It's called Meanwhile. They actually offer life insurance policies. They only operate in Bitcoin. It pays out in Bitcoin. Is that something you'd even be interested in?
I think that's a great product.
Yeah.
Great product. Now I can probably buy that myself, but I think that's an outstanding, I don't know what it costs, but it seems to me like a really good product. I mean, for instance, I heard today a guy running a hedge fund, and hedge funds, they do 2 and 20, 2% a year and 20% of anything they make over the, some kind of a strike price. He's literally doing 1%, not 1 in 20, not 1 in 10, 1% total, and he gets paid in Bitcoin. So if you got 10 Bitcoin, he gets, 1% of the Bitcoin every year. And he's literally taking all the underlying commodity risk on the underlying price. He's going to make so much money.
Yeah.
It's going to be unbelievable.
Right now, that's a pretty good deal. I know at one point you sold all of your stock in one day, predicting what was ahead for your industry at the time. Do you see us headed for a recession now or anytime soon?
Doesn't look like it. It looks like we are, doesn't matter what happens. I think Gareth and I had this conversation a couple of years ago where there's a scenario where things are so weird that even though the economy is not good, the stock market and everything else just keeps going up. But if the stock market crashed 30%, most people watching this are not really going to be impacted. Like the stock market crashing, because I don't have a lot of exposure to it, it would not hurt me. Like, okay, good. I've got Bitcoin, man. Now, would the Bitcoin also go down in a big collapse? Yeah, but that's what I'm betting on.
Yeah.
I'm betting on that we have a collapse and I'll have a 2-day problem. But at some point, if you have a severe problem, money, unless it's an EMP, like wipeout kind of thing, money is going to go chase the most valuable, liquid, transportable, verifiable product in the world. And so to me, that should be our scenario, right? That, hey, things are going to unwind at some point. The junkie has to go into rehab, meaning the US government debt, and every other country. That's 400% GDP, debt to GDP global. It's insane. But how long can it go on? So I don't really know. I just know I'm trying to protect my family and my businesses with the most solid investment thesis with the least amount of risk. The least amount of risk, not the most amount. I want to make the greatest return for the least amount of risk. That, to me, is the right investment thesis for this period of time.
Of course. That leads me to my next question. What are the biggest mistakes that business owners make that keeps them from being successful?
They have a good, right off the top of my head, they have a good idea and then they think they need to be the general. Okay. Founders, technologists, operators, they have a brilliant idea and then they have to run it. And it's kind of like, just because you had a good idea doesn't mean that you're the general, right? Or you're the best person to market or sell or create commercial contracts or litigate or negotiate. That's the biggest mistake. And they think too small.
Can't specialize in everything, right? Okay, one last question. A little more personal. I know you stepped away from business for several years to study history and religion. How did that time change your perspective on life and how you live now?
Well, really, I was trying to study like, hey, what's it all about, right, Alfie? Once you have enough success, I think, and you're not just struggling, I think you can wake up and go, okay, like, is this it? So I've always been really like very interested in why I am here as an entity. And it has to be more than me just being a soldier of a business and making money. So that it just interests me quite a bit. And quite frankly, I think it has been extremely valuable for me to know myself, but also for me to know history. And religion is very much interlaced with history
Yeah.
that they are very related to financial markets and how the world evolves. So I'm starting to be able to make some predictions about what happens. I mean, I think we're in a World War III within, 14 months. So you just continue to see the historical signs repeating themselves over and over and over.
Repeating. And I've heard you mention you think there's maybe the possibility of no election or maybe something kind of happening to that. What do you think?
Well, if I was one particular side of this political thing, I would do everything I possibly could not to roll out Joe Biden. I just don't see how that anybody with any observation skills could vote for somebody that's, really the guy struggling at this point. Yeah, I could see no election. I wouldn't take a bet that Donald Trump even makes it to the damn, November the 4th. So I just think the world's in a really precarious position, and I want to be risk on for that trade, right? I do want to be risk on for that trade in a particular asset class that I think I'll do exceptionally well. Yeah, but I could see no election. I mean, I could see us being at war, cyber attack. And we just seem to have something going on every 90 days, right?
Oh, absolutely.
These soap operas used to be a decade long. Now they're 90-day soap operas.
Yeah, yeah. Is Bitcoin your safety blanket? Is that what you feel will get you through?
I don't think it's a safety blanket. I think you're just moved here. We will have a hurricane sometime in October, September next year. I'm never scared about what's happening around me.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty comfortable that I'm going to be okay. It's probably my children's legacy and future that's going to protect them from what, imagine my children, we're back, in Roman times, and I could have made this trade. I could have squirreled away, several boxes of gold and not told anybody and held it for 50 years. I'm pretty sure my kids are going to have a big problem. And that problem is going to be, they're going to have to be more responsible than other people because dad did the right thing. And that's actually weighs on me when I think about what I'm doing, because I'm putting my children in a position. I'm so sure of this. I'm putting my children in a position where they're going to have to live in a really kind of an isolated world, a world I did not live in, because they are going to have a shitload of money to manage. And that they need to go do good with that money.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Teach them well. Teach them now. You got to prepare them. Gary, I could talk to you for hours. I won't do that to you. You're a fascinating person. You have really just an incredible background. I want to know if you have any events coming up, and if so, where can our viewers go to find out more information?
I have so many events. I don't even know that I can tell you. I think you got to contact Becca, but I do a lot of spaces at Gary Cardone spaces. I'm getting so much positive feedback. We're putting together a YouTube channel, so I'm a little reluctant to do the whole camera thing, but I'm going to jump in there with you guys.
I hope so.
I think we just need to collaborate more, whether it's in at a local bar and whether it's at my house. I'm having a big party here. You're going to be invited.
I like how you think, Gary. This is
great.
Yeah,
no, Mark. All the team from Verified Investing always gets the invite. Gareth knows. His wife knows for sure. His wife will be here, whether Gareth comes or not.
I know she knows how to mix a good cocktail, so that'll make for a good
great party and a lot of really good people from a lot of different parts of the world. So
awesome.
Those are my events. Maybe Madeira for Bitcoin.
Okay, that sounds fantastic. Gary, thank you so much for your time and your insight. We appreciate it very much, and I know we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Maybe we'll take you guys to the party. Have a great day, Gary. And thank you so much for your time and for joining us here on Trading the Close. We are back on Monday, so make it a great rest of the week, everybody.